Right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's going to be a busy hour as we go through cybersecurity for town and parish councils, but really for organisations in general as well. We're just going to start probably 1 or 2 minutes in. The session is being recorded as well. I don't know if Steve or Martin, you could be letting people in as they sort of go into the lobby. That would be fantastic. But we're really happy with the response for this session. It's been very popular, but cybersecurity is obviously something that doesn't stand still and can affect everyone, regardless of shape, size, or organisations. So certainly very important. We'll just ask everyone mutes their mics as well. That would be really good, and we'll make a start in the next minute or so. I'll just quickly share my screen. So yeah, the title does say for councils, but actually this is super relevant for any organisation. What we're talking about: cyber essentials, insurance, the necessary controls to put in place, all very relevant as well for businesses, charities, as well as town and parish councils as well. Right. Well, we'll just give it a couple more minutes. 1 more minute, we'll make a start. So it's great to see so many people on the call. Some who are Cloudy customers, some who aren't, but probably have heard of us as well. We've worked through the various council associations on this one. We've had quite a few councils from Wales come and join us as well, which is really nice. So good to see you. Right. Here we go. So Joe's here from Keighley, wonderful, and Delia from Bletchley. Wonderful. Well, let's make a start because we've got a lot to cover, and I'm keen to make sure if there's any questions at the end, we can get around to those as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We hope the next hour is going to be of a lot of use to you. A quick overview of the webinar. We're going to do some welcomes and introductions. We're going to meet our sector digital champions. We're going to do a quick cybersecurity poll as well, nothing too heavy. So get your cameras at the ready or click the link in the chat to do that for us. That'd be fantastic. We're then going to talk about the considerations around cybersecurity for town and parish councils. We've also got David Mears, the Clerk CEO from Bridgewater Town Council, who actually recently went through Cyber Essentials last year to talk about his experience. He's not in the room yet. He might turn up. He might not. We'll see what happens. But
I am here, Dave.
Oh,
Don't you worry.
are. Oh, wonderful. Brilliant. Love to hear that. Thank you, David. So thanks for joining us. David's going to quickly talk about why he went with Cyber Essentials and the benefits it's seen to his council. And then we've got our experts here talking about Cyber Essentials, cyber insurance, and also Microsoft 365 controls that are in place to protect your IT systems. Because, all of this can seem very complicated, very scary in places, but actually the 365 package, out of the box doesn't do too much, but when you apply the necessary controls in place, it's incredibly useful and can provide a lot of protection that's going to be covered in today's session. So let's move on. So I'm David Hall, Managing Director of Cloudy IT, but we've also got our sector experts here, Adam Pilton from CyberSmart. Adam, if you want to say hello.
Want me there, Dave? I wasn't expecting that. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'll be speaking about Cyber Essentials and the power that can bring to your councils.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Adam. And we've got also Daniel Wynn. Daniel's from James Hallam Insurance. We work with a couple of insurance providers, but it's always great working with yourself, Dan, and Colin as well. So, just say hello and just introduce yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, I'm Daniel Wynn. I deal with all the cyber insurance here at James Hallam. So we're here when all your security systems, obviously, something happens and people get in there and the insurance is there to help you out. I look forward to chatting more in detail about that.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much. And then we've got my colleague Martin Boyle, who heads up our cybersecurity hub here at Cloudy. Martin was previously our support desk manager, but as we've been getting busier with more councils and organisations looking after their cybersecurity, we've now created a dedicated unit for that, which Martin heads up. And we keep you pretty busy, don't we, Martin, in that role, and various threats coming in and advice being offered to the councils as well.
Yeah, certainly keeps us busy.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, so we've got my colleagues there. We also have our sector digital champions, which is headed up by Steve. These are made up of clerks and counsellors who are working with our customers to really provide that personalised support. I know, Steve, as a counsellor yourself and someone who chair of the council and works in IT, what are the takeaways today that I think will be useful for people attending?
I think it'd be really, really interesting to look at how data is protected, how risks are managed, and obviously an incident response. All councils are charged with protecting sensitive information, and ensuring that there are really good security policies, that members are and officers are regularly trained to look for all of these common style phishing attacks and man in the middle attacks. And it would be great that is something that today's webinars, is going to cover. And it's one of those things. It's sort of a bit of a mystery, a mysterious area, and not many people are fully aware of what there is that is going on in the way of these digital attacks. Everyone's heard of them, but they don't realize how they come in. And of course, providing, as a counsellor, ensuring there is sufficient budget for all of these tools and this training, which is critical nowadays.
Exactly, the affordability of it, but it's something that's super important. And regardless of the size of your council organisation, certainly councils are very public organisations. The information is very available online, and if people want to do a socially engineered hack, or which we've seen before being done, then it can easily be done. And what we're here to do is support councils from the holistic view, which is not just about the controls in place on their IT, but the policies that come with that, and some other aspects of it, how they store their passwords, and anything to do with the cybersecurity dark web as well, when your information might get leaked to these organisations that sell it on the dark web. So all of these things we covered today. We'll just do little examples of that. So thanks, Steve. Right, so we're going to do a quick poll, really, and just see, really, if anyone's been a victim of a cybersecurity incident. So if everyone's got a phone, they might be able to snap this, or I don't know, Martin, if you could put the link in the chat, and we can just get a feel for people in the room, if anyone's been. And this is anonymous as well, so we don't know who's clicked what. So, I know I could be clicking that as well, for because it's very easy to fall victim to these things. So, yeah, we'll just stay on that link for a bit longer whilst everyone just finds their phone, or can select the link in the chat, and actually we'll build a picture of what's going on at the moment. But certainly what we have seen is hospitals, councils, businesses being under sustained attack from various threat actors, and there's so many ways that it can happen as well. Here at Cloudy, Martin has regular emails coming in of incidents that have happened and things that he needs to do to respond to that, and there's a lot of things we can put in place around the controls to protect that, but obviously that needs to be done and managed correctly as well. So we just have one yes, so that's interesting, but I'll move on in a second. Yeah.
Sorry, David, I just wanted to say very quickly that the form is asking for a login at the moment.
Okay. So we don't have access to it.
Yeah,
that's
there's
good. No access to it, David.
All right, no, thanks for confirming that. Let me, I cannot change it at my end. I can actually, bear with me. I can just get a link that would work for everyone. Thank you very much. Anyone can respond. Copy. There we go. There we go. That one should work. Thank you very much, Steve, for that, and cheers, David.
Yes, that one's now working, David.
Yeah, I can see the results coming at my end here, but it's not updating there. Well, that's a shame. I can actually bring this along and we can all see the results here. So here we go. Here we are. So we've got 6 yeses, 12 no's, 1 maybe. And then actually the maybe's quite a good one, actually, because we don't know it sometimes happened and it's too late, or our information has been leaked inadvertently and we're not aware of that. Brilliant. Well, thank you for taking part in that. We appreciate it. And, it does show that, certainly it's something that we've all got to consider. So let's move on. Oh, there we go. It has updated. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Great. So certainly, sort of 33%, a third, have been affected by a cybersecurity incident, and we'd obviously like to see that a lot more closer to zero. But sadly, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter who you are; these things could eventually happen to yourself, and having everything in place to stop that is super important. So, it's updating as we speak. Oh, no. Oh, apologies. It just has technology's working against me now. Let's just launch this again. There we go. Right. So considerations to make when looking at cybersecurity is choosing the right cloud. Here at Cloudy, we are a Microsoft partner. We recommend the Microsoft 365 cloud. Someone's just got their mics on. I don't know if someone could mute them. That would be fantastic. Cheers. So choosing the right cloud is important. A managed cloud such as 365, but there are other clouds. Google provide a cloud, but they come with a lot of controls built in. They will cost you a bit more, but what you'll find is that you'll have things like multi-factor authentication, conditional access, advanced reporting, advanced spam protection, things that you don't get when you have a mailbox with off your hosted provider where you have your website. So having the right cloud is important, and obviously not just from an email perspective, but also from a storage perspective where your data sits, not just your emails, but your files, your documents as well. So 365 does provide a real sort of complete package of protection. Martin's going to cover that a bit later on. And also having your cloud set up correctly. When you pay for this license, whether it's £20 a month or £5 a month, having all those controls in place set up correctly is important. And it actually doesn't come set up. It has to be set up in the first place. And that's what someone like Cloudy can do, or your current IT provider. Speaks to them and make sure that multi-factor protection is enabled, conditional access is enabled, and also all the updates and patches. Because as you'll hear a bit later on when Adam and Martin speak, that it's not about just antiviruses, but also making sure that everything's up to date in real time as well. And having the right cloud set up in the right way will actually do that for you as well. And obviously training. There's only so much a system can do. Where you've got the Cyber Essentials framework that Adam will be talking about later on. But unless you have the right training, stuff can slip through still. And making sure that you have the right processes in place to protect you from that are key. And keeping things simple as well. The less clouds you have, the fewer partners you have, means it is easier to track and control that as well. So certainly having all this in place does really enable you to run an organisation that's secure and also can meet the most modern threats that are available out there at the moment. So that is certainly key. So we're joined by David Mears, CEO and Chief Exec and Clerk of Bridgewater Town Council. Thank you, David, for joining us today. We've been working with Bridgewater for about 3 years, I can't remember the exact date, but certainly a lot of changes happened at Bridgewater since we met you, and really fast-growing council down in Somerset. And you obviously talked about Cyber Essentials last year and decided to proceed with that. And I'm really keen just to get your perspective of why you did it, the benefits, and any recommendations you'd make to your colleagues as well.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone. So with Bridgewater Town Council, as you can see, we're a large council, but we were never always a large council. This has only been a major change this year, but last year we had a budget of around about 1.5 million. We had 19 members of staff, but we were also dealing with a complex sort of data collection with some of our service delivery. But also we were embarking on growth due to austerity, basically measures with local authorities. And Somerset Council and the Unitary Council, you may have be aware of, is gone into massive sort of budget deficit this year. So as a result of that was mass scale devolution. So we really wanted to get ourselves into a place where we had confidence with our technology within the office and how we were storing information, but also we were receiving last year a significant amount of phishing emails, which has really given me cause for concern. And we did have a couple of councillors and also staff click on those links. They were just simply, it was a lapse in our training, I think, as well. So when I was realising that you could be Cyber Essentials certified, and David was obviously at Cloudy, we're putting this into place, really made me think about actually, how are we storing our data? What are our systems like? So the systems in the office, we had complete confidence in, it was all new laptops and devices, all the staff had, the latest iPhones, but actually it was with our councillors. And part of the cyber essential process is actually identifying how up to date your software is on your devices. And the process was quite scary actually, because we had one councillor who was accessing his town council emails on an iPhone, I think it was a 5 or something, it was no longer supported by recent security updates from Apple. And that really was kind of a bit of a shock and awe moment actually, that, our data is on a device with emails that was nowhere near up to date with the most up-to-date security software. So the whole process was really about making sure that we had the best devices and the best protection in place. But we also wanted it to give confidence in where we were going. So we've got major projects, as you can see on there, up to £7 million, one of our projects. And we've got multiple projects on the go. Our largest individual project is 5.4 million, with a second project with a budget of 1.8 million at the moment. So we're dealing with multiple contractors, local supply chains. We're dealing with also sort of major supply chains as well, and contractors. And we're also working very closely with our local police and fire services as well, with different sort of challenges our community is facing. And we really wanted to make sure that we can give confidence to those organisations that we take cybersecurity exceptionally seriously as well. And that's what that process has been about. And it's an ongoing process. So we get a report every Monday that comes through that alerts us to any issues with any of our devices as well. And it's really clear report. We know exactly what the device is and what the user is. And it tells if there's any issue with the malware, whether it's software updates. It's really sort of comprehensive, and cloudy are always at hand. So there was a couple of areas that I was not sure about. Spoke with Martin only yesterday, and those actions have been dealt with as well. So it really is something that we will not go away from. So our renewal is in October this year, and we will go for the renewal. We may even look to upgrade if that's possible as well to the more enhanced cybersecurity. So the plus, thank you. I wasn't too sure what it was called, David, actually. Thank you.
No, that's what we'll hear all about it in a second from Adam. So
there you go. So this is what we're considering, and it has given confidence. And the training as well. We roll out bite-sized training with our staff as well to really make sure that they're up to date with everything. It's been actually quite changing for us as a town council, because of all the data, as you can see, that we hold. We've got an arts centre, we've got a theatre, we've got cemeteries. We deal with like 200 burials a year. We have got multiple contractors that we're working with. So this really does give us confidence as to how we operate and store data safely as well.
Excellent. And and I think what you're describing there isn't unusual for most town and parish councils, regardless of size.
No.
You've got cemeteries, you've got allotments, you've got information on the public, and they're having that confidence, but it's been checked and verified. And we did your IT a few years back, but there's still things that came up. The make of your firewall wasn't up to scratch, and that needed to be changed, didn't it? And that's the thing. Obviously, people will find the path of least resistance, and you can have the best system in the world, and all you have to do is have one particular area that's a bit weak, and they'll find a way in. David, I'm really glad it's working for yourself, and I know that, and there's other things you have taken advantage of, such as the password keeper that we've provided as well. So we do try and give that support to make sure that it's not just about the cyber essentials, but we've got secure ways to store passwords, also dark web scanning as well. But we provide a standard with all the councils we work with on the packages we provide as well. But thank you ever so much, David. If you've got time to stay on a bit longer and answer any questions from anyone in the chat, that would be lovely. I know you're jetting off on holiday tomorrow, aren't you? Or certainly very soon for a good, well-deserved holiday. Is it next week? Okay, yeah, but I know it's been really busy for you. But thank you ever so much, and we'll whiz through. Cheers, David. So great to hear from David there firsthand, from a clerk in terms of the benefits of Cyber Essentials. But we're joined now by Adam, and Adam is from CyberSmart, one of our cybersecurity partners. Cloudy have sort of assembled these partners with Microsoft, CyberSmart, etc., to really give us that end-to-end approach to support the councils we work with. And CyberSmart, we were very close with Adam and the team to get Cyber Essentials in place and make sure it's all kept up to date. And we really love the platform and the relationship we've got with yourself, Adam. But really interested to hear more about obviously the controls, what the requirements, what Cyber Essentials is, and the benefits to councils.
Certainly, yeah, and thank you for David for teeing me up nicely there with talk of Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. So just to set the scene a bit as to who I am. So my background is in law enforcement. I worked as a police officer for 15 years, latterly leading the cybercrime team. And from that, many different experiences of dealing with victims of crime, whether they be individuals or whether they be organisations such as councils or such as businesses, small and large. So this is why, for me, Cyber Essentials is so important, because as you can see on the screen there, this really is about getting the basics in place. Now, Cyber Essentials has been with us for 10 years now, just last month, and we've seen great success with it. People are engaging with it. Since it's been around, there's been over 140,000 Cyber Essentials certificates issued, and that is increasing year on year. Last year, there was a 21% increase in those obtaining Cyber Essentials. And it's really important to get those basics in place. And one thing that the National Cybersecurity Centre told us last year in their annual report was that the people that are taking part in Cyber Essentials, not only are they securing their organisations, but over 60% said they actually learned something new. And that's not just people doing it for the first time, that's people renewing as well. So there's so much to be learned. And the beauty of Cyber Essentials in itself is it's not hugely technical. Anybody can do it, and that's why the government have backed this scheme and pushing it forward for everyone to do, whether it be councils, small organisations or large, because it really is simple to do, simple to get involved with, and it gets those basics in place. It prevents you from being that low-hanging fruit that cyber criminals love to grab. Next slide, please, Dave.
There we go.
Perfect. And we heard before, there's two types of Cyber Essentials. There's two flavours. So the basic Cyber Essentials is in effect a self-assessment. So this is where you're asked a series of questions and you'll go through and you answer all those questions. And it's really about understanding the scope. So what devices are in your network and what are you looking to certify to get to the standard of Cyber Essentials? Now, once you've done that, you've then got the option within 3 months of obtaining the Cyber Essentials certification to obtain a Cyber Essentials Plus. Now, this is an audited verification of what you've said in the self-assessment previously. And this is where an auditor will come in and not only will they look at your answers and confirm that they are accurate, that is what your network looks like, but it will look at the controls that you put in place on individual devices, and they'll look at vulnerability checking as well to make sure that you are addressing vulnerabilities, critical and high vulnerabilities, within 14 days. So if we go to the next slide, we can actually look at the 5 main controls that are looked at. So if you can see here, firewalls. This is essentially making sure that you control what comes in and what goes out of your network, both internally and externally. And this is something that Martin and the team would help you configure and help you set up. Secure configuration. Now, this is about making sure that you've got the controls in place so people can only access what they need to access to do their job. Nothing more, nothing less. User access controls. Now, this is about making sure accessing the accounts that people have access to, and we all have access to multiple accounts now, whether it be Microsoft 365 or access in a cloud like Dropbox, for example, for storage purposes, whatever it may be. There's multiple accounts. It's making sure the controls on those accounts are in place, and we've already heard mention of multi-factor authentication today. That is mandatory with Cyber Essentials, as you'd expect. So it's making sure those controls are in place. Malware protection. Things like antivirus, making sure that it should malware get onto a system, that it's detected and it's stopped and it's tracked. It's not allowed to spread. It's not allowed to essentially harm you and your network. And finally, as I touched on just a moment ago, patch management. And with Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus, you have to address all critical and high vulnerabilities within 14 days. Now, this is really important to make sure that, as already mentioned by Dave before, that those little updates that aren't done, those little gaps are exploited by cyber criminals. So it's making sure that any gaps that you've got in your cybersecurity are promptly addressed.
And I would add to Adam, that's why a platform or a cloud like Microsoft 365 is really useful, because the premium license that they provide actually covers a lot of the different things covered in there. It doesn't cover the firewall, but certainly covers the patch management, the malware protection, user control, and security configuration. So, and it makes your life easier. It's centrally managed, easy to set up and deploy as well. And then the firewall is one that catches a lot of people out. They think once you're online, you're online. The firewall does it all, but it's not necessarily true. And when we modernise a council, we go in and we move them into the cloud and provide the training, set everything up in the cloud. But sometimes the firewalls get missed. That's not part of the scope of the project, and the council will look at the connectivity in a couple of years' time. So looking at all these things is important. You don't need a hugely expensive firewall. You just need something that's up to date and modern and not 10 years old and gathering dust. That's all. So yeah, all those things are very important to consider, and obviously once addressed, then you can sort of whiz through to your Cyber Essentials certification. So here we go.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And you made a really good point there about things being simple. Now, obviously there is work required to achieve Cyber Essentials, but the whole purpose of Cyber Essentials, as I said before, is that anyone can do it. So it really is, it's not a difficult process. It's just helping you get the basics in place. And looking at the benefits here of Cyber Essentials, the one at the top I'll start with. I won't go through them all, don't worry. But enhanced security. Now, Cyber Essentials gets those basics in place, and it really is the start of your cybersecurity journey. Now, I must stress that once you achieve Cyber Essentials, you can't then relax for 12 months until you're due to renew. That is the basics in place, and then it's about maintaining, so ongoing compliance with those standards and building upon it. As you achieve Cyber Essentials, you'll start to understand what are the critical assets in your organization, what needs additional protection, what maybe do you not want public facing, do you not want on the internet, and you'll start to understand the controls even deeper, even further, and it becomes a lot more simpler to make sure that you achieve that ongoing compliance. And when we look at trust and credibility, and even the supply chain, really, having something like Cyber Essentials gives that trust. If you're working with someone, exchanging contracts, generally now what we're seeing as part of those contracts is that partners want to see a minimum standard of cybersecurity in place so that you're protecting their data, and then likewise they're protecting yours. And we saw last year the government put out procurement policy notice stating that any organisation, councils included, small businesses, charities that are working with government bodies, so the NHS and others, have to have cybersecurity measures in place, and the government recommend that is Cyber Essentials. So it's really important to obviously comply with those contracts, but to have those things in place so it's not a last minute rush trying to achieve Cyber Essentials when it doesn't need to be. Next slide, please.
Brilliant. And I'll probably just add to that, really, around the trust and credibility, etc. Once you do become Cyber Essentials certified, you get a certificate. You can be looked up on the website, can't you? And actually, there's a list there of all the councils. You could go on there now and see all the councils that have got Cyber Essentials certification. There's quite a few, and you can use it in your emails, on your website. And if an incident has happened, I think what it does do is bring in an element of sort of not credibility, but the knowledge that things have been addressed and it has been looked at. And here at Cloudy, we do put all these things in place. We put in multi-factor authentication, we put in conditional access. We do that as course, but to have that certificate that says actually it's been checked and it is there is even better. Even to do the plus, which is externally checked as well, is even better. But yeah, we know obviously there's a big push with town and parish councils moving with the .gov.uk domains. Very important step, but I think people are saying, but this might not be too fast, too many steps behind that, and tying up on those loose ends, and Cyber Essentials might be mandatory. And obviously you have got the ISOs, the 9001, stuff like that. They are incredibly expensive and difficult to maintain, and actually I think Cyber Essentials gives you that first step on the ladder between that, doesn't it, to give the suppliers the reassurance that you're meeting all the government standards and doing the correct thing to make sure your systems are secure. Brilliant. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. So just wanted to have a quick look at the National Cybersecurity Centre annual review. I touched on it earlier, but there's a couple of stats I wanted to call out. And in particular, so last year, 22 to 23, there was a 64% increase in incidents reported to the National Cybersecurity Centre. Cyber security issues, cyber criminals, cyber crime It's not going away. It's getting bigger and it's getting stronger. So we need to make sure those basics are in place. And as Dave pointed out there, Cyber Essentials is the first step in the journey. It's something that we'll be constantly building and working upon, including awareness in that as well. And the types of incidents we're seeing as well. So an 18.5% increase, again, from last year, in the amount of exfiltration and extortion of data. So this is making sure as well that we understand the type of threats that we're facing. So having Cyber Essentials in place will protect us from those threats. But what else can we do in addition to the new and evolving type of threat? So this is where we look at things like backups. And obviously 365 offers that through our cloud services, but it's making sure that you have appropriate controls and measures in place to protect against the growing and evolving and new types of crime we're seeing. And I pulled out this comment here from the report, because I think it's so true. We have all the information and tools at our disposal to defend ourselves. We just need to use them better. And Martin will, I'm sure, go on in a moment to elaborate on that. But we really do have the tools, the information, the knowledge. It's all there. Just need to make sure we're using them efficiently and effectively to protect ourselves.
Next slide, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Adam. And I would say, obviously, the government just released their cybersecurity bill, didn't they? And they actually rushed that one out there because it was considered so important. I think they even put it above the AI bill. They swapped them around, and a lot of these things have been mentioned. It isn't mandatory to have Cyber Essentials, but certainly now they have tightened up on how quickly you have to report that to a central agency. Apparently been a bit light on the details about who you report it to, but certainly this is a focus for everyone at the moment with recent events that are going on.
Yeah, certainly. It came out in the King's speech recently. Obviously, now we're not part of the EU. We initially were part of a directive which basically ensured that we had to protect our critical infrastructure. Europe have released their second and updated version of that. And the UK, although we can and will adopt it when working with our European partners, internally within the UK, we don't have anything. So this bill will be coming out, and yes, the government and the King's speech has put that at the forefront of what we're doing. We need to get that in place, and we need to start working to achieve that. And things like having Cyber Essentials in place will mean you've got a significant amount of the controls that you'll need. But I wanted to, just before I finished, I just wanted to highlight one thing, and that one thing is, you see on the screen there, that Cyber Essentials works. Now, St James's Place recently spoke with IASME, and during this interview, I asked IASME who the people that run Cyber Essentials. IASME were told by St James's Place how effective Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus work. Now, St James's Place is a wealth management firm, and they have in excess of 2,800 business partners. Now, what they decided to do a couple of years ago now was to mandate Cyber Essentials Plus for all of these partners. No mean feat. However, they did it. All of their partners are now Cyber Essentials Plus certified. And rather amazingly, since they introduced that, since all their partners became certified to that standard, they saw cybersecurity incidents reduce by 80%. Now, if you think not only is that meaning that they're protected from cybersecurity incidents, is actually reducing the workload of the people on the front line that are having to deal with these incidents, let alone the potential savings in costs of having to deal with actual attacks themselves. So I just wanted to call that out and highlight there that Cyber Essentials really does work.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks very much, Adam. And obviously, we work very closely with CyberSmart to enable Cyber Essentials for town and parish councils. We've got various packages to suit, and we have got the parish and town councils of different sizes using them. So it's not necessarily as expensive as you might think it could be, and the benefits it does bring about you thinking about your security can be paid off as well. And certainly, if there was a breach that could happen, it would certainly be very welcome. So thanks, Adam. I know you'll be staying along to answer any questions anyone's got, and it leads nicely into speaking to Dan and Daniel. Obviously, it's one aspect, and we can protect your systems as much as possible through products like Cyber Essentials or the controls that Cloudy put in with Microsoft 365. But in the event that the worst should happen, having the right cyber insurance is important, isn't it? And we've been in discussions about this for a long time. There's a bit of a gap really between organisations and them thinking it can't happen to me or it won't happen to me, and having the right insurance is really important, isn't it? So yeah, I'll let you do your bit now.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. I think cyber insurance isn't a replacement for having good cybersecurity measures in place. Just like you wouldn't not have a lock on the front door of your property and have house insurance. So it's really, cyber insurance is really here to cover for the financial losses as a result of somebody getting into your systems, whether they're going to exploit that via ransomware, whether they're going to try and leak your data. The main part of how the policy will respond is with regards to the breach response or the incident response. Different insurers call it a different name. Working, you have an incident, you get straight onto the phone to them. They will get their teams involved. They will look into the system, see what's happened, see how someone's breached your systems, what exactly has been taken, look to try and start restoring that data and trying to keep the cost down as a minimal. Because obviously from then you've got any sort of business interruption losses that you may have. Obviously, the longer your systems are down, the longer financially you're going to be out of pocket potentially. And see, with regards to your data breaches as well, obviously local parish councils are going to be holding personal and sensitive data for local residents on there. You can be you're responsible for that data, whether that's in the cloud, which a lot of people think protects them because they think our data's in the cloud, we can just restore that data again and it's protected. It is still essentially your data, even if Amazon is holding that data. So you're the ones that would be responsible in the event of notifying the individuals any sort of penalties and fines that you may receive as a result of the data breach from that information. And I think the big one we're seeing, especially with the local parish councils, is invoice fraud or funds transfer fraud. This is where you would receive payment notification. It usually come through on a Friday, so this is very urgent. We need this payment as soon as possible, and you would look to make that payment without verifying the details first, and insurers will look to get involved to help recuperate that money or pay the losses that you've sort of had from that, really. And then again, as mentioned, with regards to ransomware, this is where someone's going to come in, they're going to lock your systems out. They will say, we want X amount of money to restore your systems and restore your data. And this is where it's good to work with the insurers, because insurers have huge amounts of data on the different ransom individuals and the cyber criminals that are infiltrating systems, whether it's actually worth paying that money. If you pay the money, are they actually going to give you back your data and your information? Whether they will help advise whether the payment should be made. They work very closely with worldwide organizations, the NCA, FBI, so that they will have a lot of information on these cyber criminals that are out there. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I think the big thing is, why do we need it? 90% of cyber incidents are as a result of human error. Like I said, we can have the best systems in the world, but people are the ones that are allowing people into the systems in the first place. So that's why it's important to have the regular training. Majority of claims are starting from a phishing email coming through, and that's how people are getting into the systems. And I think the big thing is, everyone, the big companies that are being attacked. We see it in the news all the time. WH Smith, the post office, all the larger organizations, they're the ones that do get headline news out there. But it is the majority of the companies that are being hit. Over 50% of companies within the UK have had some sort of cyber incident. And I think it's like 95% of companies in the UK are SME companies. So they are targeting the smaller companies, mainly because it's easier to access their systems. They're not going to have as robust controls or endpoint detection to see when someone is in their systems. So it isn't a quick, easy win for them. It's not saying the criminals aren't going for the big companies. They are. It takes them a lot longer, but obviously for bigger returns. So there's different criminal organizations out there targeting different types of companies that are out there. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of change with regards to legislation on cyber. Every time there's new legislations that do come in, it is increasing the costs to deal with a cyber incident, on how we notify individuals, the different processes that have to go through. And with GDPR, if there is a data breach and you've got to try and restore that data, it's all got to be done in the UK, which essentially costs more money, or within the EU, it costs more money rather than using external outsources as well. And with regards to a cyber claim, the costs do add up very quickly. Especially on the breach response side, you can be paying IT consultants that are specialised in cybersecurity in excess of £1,000 a day. If it takes 7 days just to find out what's actually happened to that data, you're looking at £7,000 just for that there. And on top of that, then if you've got any data that needs to be restored, you've got the cost involved there. Notifying individuals, I think they worked out it's about £50 per person for the cost of the time sending out information. Depending on how many individuals information has been breached, the cost can add up very quickly. And I think there's a big misconception that cyber insurance is expensive. It's not. We do have premiums starting from £100, depending on the coverage and the size of the company we are insuring. So the costs there aren't significant, but the coverage is given is keeping you afloat in the event of an incident there. And I think the way you have to look at it, if you came into work on a Monday morning and you had no access to no systems, most phone lines are going to be connected to a computer system these days as well. You wouldn't be able to work. I think that's the same for any company out there. There's no access to emails, no access to bank details. You've got no access to any of your data, and don't know how far back you'd have to go to restore that data. You may have a backup that's done every day, but the malware may have been in the system for the last 6 months. And that's all part of the investigation of finding out how far back things need to go and the costs involved in restoring previous data, which again, where the costs can sort of add up very quickly. And as I've been saying, it's given access to cybersecurity professionals. Most insurers have an in-house team of people that have worked with law enforcement and come over to work for the insurance. And so they've got expertise there. They know what they're doing to be able to get you back up on your feet. And they're going to work with existing IT providers as well. They know your systems inside out. They've helped set them up, so they're going to use their expertise to help them out and make sure everything stays up and running as well.
Brilliant, Dan. Well, thanks ever so much. And it's interesting because it leads nicely on to what Martin's going to talk about. But I suppose insurance will look at what controls you've got in place and tools like Cyber Essentials from Cyber Smart, real-time protection, as David mentioned, when something falls out of protection, he gets an alert, he gets a weekly alert come through as well. Martin gets real-time alerts. So, and they do say that, what Martin's going to show some of the rules we put in place around your IT from Cloudy to make sure that if there is an incident, it's reported really quickly, and we can look at a full analysis of what's been opened from the account, the location that it came from, all this sort of stuff. That's really useful. So lucky it doesn't cost you £1,000 a day as a Cloudy customer. We provide that service a lot more, but certainly to have those layers of protection is key. So that leads in nicely to Martin's section. So thank you very much for that, Daniel. Really interesting. If anyone's got any questions, they can put them in the chat. But we're keen to work very closely with the insurance providers and companies like CyberSmart and Microsoft to make sure that councils have got all bases covered, which is really important. They've got aware of all the facts. So brilliant. Cheers. So Martin, really interesting to hear what Adam and Daniel have to say. And you work with both companies, don't you, as well as the councils? You're a bit of the interface to that. And we're going to have to really rush you along. Sorry, Martin, you've got basically about sort of 10 minutes to go through and show some of the things. So at Cloudy, we provide three types of main security around the baseline, advanced, and ultimate protection. We call it our cyber defense hub or council defense hub. And Martin sort of reviews all our customers' security, but we work with people who aren't our customers. We do various things from freedom of information requests. We can assist with that, can't we, Martin? I'm keen you really jump in and show some of these things in practice because it's really good to visualize them. So we're not going to spend too long on this slide. All this information is on our website. And you can see we do things like dark web monitoring. We recently moved a large council, didn't we, Martin? And as soon as we ran the scan, it picked up quite a few breaches of release of data that we contact them about and ask them, advise them to change their passwords pretty quickly. So we've got 3 levels of security there, with the ultimate being Cyber Essentials and password managers and everything else for that covers as well. But they're all affordable, all depending on your size of accounts, on your sort of obviously your risk as well. There's something for everyone there, I think. But Martin, I don't know if you want to. We're going to go through some of the key features of the Microsoft Business Premium license, isn't it? That's what we're covering today. And show 3 examples of what premium can actually provide. People aren't aware of this, but we put all of this stuff in place. But Martin, I'll let you share your screen and go for it, mate. So
yeah, thanks. So just before I share my screen, I'll just quickly go over like David said, the business premium covers a lot of the areas that we've heard about for Cyber Essentials. So we're going to get our endpoint protection. So this is going to take care of patching. It's going to take care of your software firewall, antivirus on your endpoints, your laptops, desktops, and so on. It's also given as email and document protection. Email, another one we kind of heard about, getting emails. Can you make a payment? Can you do this? Can you click these links? We had from David at Bridgewater how we've kind of seen that there in the past. So this has given us an enhanced level of protection on those emails, so we can look for suspicious links, suspicious attachments. Can we look for one that I will actually show you is impersonation protection? So this helps with things like spear phishing, which is where, as councils, a lot of you will be familiar with. You get emails pretending to be your chairman to your councillors. Can you buy me some Amazon gift vouchers, something like that. We see it quite a lot. You are very low hanging fruit. You have to have a website. The website has to list kind of who your councillors are, what their contact details are, and also what position, what committees they're on, things like this. Your minutes are there, your agendas are there to make all this information kind of freely available. So the having the email protection really gives us the ability to try and catch these before they ever make it to your mailbox, and impersonation protection goes a long way towards catching those. We've also then got Defender for Cloud apps, so this will be doing the scanning and protection across all your 365 environments. So the apps that we use day to day, Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, your regular day to day Office suite, and then protection for identity, which is kind of the big one for catching any breaches or suspicious activity on your accounts as they happen. I'll go a little bit into that now, and I'll show you some of the policies that are in place with what we include. So I've got it open here already. This is essentially 30 to 40 policies that come in and need to be configured as part of the policies that we put in place. The number of policies changes as Microsoft systems adapt and change. Right now you can see there's about 34 in total. These do cover a number of things. So ransomware activity, are we seeing from what Microsoft has identified as this sequence of events leads towards a ransomware event within your organization across your endpoints. If we see these few things, this attachment gets opened, this file gets downloaded, and these processes run, these few things happen, we know that's going to lead to this. It will raise an alert that will come through to us here at the Cyber Defence Hub, and we're then able to start investigating that now, rather than waiting for everybody to go home at the end of the day, come in tomorrow and realise that all your files are gone. So it's really given us a chance to be ahead of anything before worst case scenario happens. Other big ones especially are suspicious inbox forwarding. This is one that we, again, quite low hanging fruit, but someone gets a councillor email, gets access to it, put a forward in place, send out another spam email, and then now they can collect all your responses, all your data, potentially without the user knowing. They can put rules in place. That's really suspicious rule inbox manipulation. We're seeing, mark the message as read, move it to the conversation folder, things like these. Again, you might not notice these day to day as you're just working. Generally what happens is you're waiting for an important response and you don't get it. So now you start to look. By that point, we're already days, weeks or months down the line of someone having access, having these rules in place. As soon as the rule gets applied, again, alert straight to the Cyber Defence Hub. We're able to go in and look, okay, so, Councillor Boyles had a rule applied that's saying mark every email as read, or all emails from specific senders as read, and move them to the conversation history. That's probably not legitimate. Let's reach out and get in touch and see if we can figure out if this has been put in place by them.
And Martin, we have had it before when someone's put an out of office on. We've had an alert say someone's tampered with a rule, and we've called up and they said, yeah, they're on holiday, it's fine. We verify it. So sometimes.
Yeah. it's better safe than sorry. I think, like you say, it does happen from time to time. Someone does put, oh, I just wanted to keep an eye on it, put a forward into their personal email address, something like that. I just wanted to keep an eye on it while I'm out of the office. It's fine, but again, having the ability to go in and verify that before a worst case scenario is massive. We can't really understate how important that can be, the benefits of that. I think previously we had kind of discussed in previous webinars about the time between kind of how long we see one of these events happen, someone getting access to an account, and what the average time is that they'll sit and just watch before something drastic happens. And it was actually another Adam from Cybersmart, but I think he was saying the average is about 12 to 18 months. We'll see that it's not necessarily, oh, we're going to access your account, we're going to get your data, and everything's going to happen now. In some cases, we're seeing that will be an extended period of time before anything happens, and that's where having these alerts really brings the benefit, because it doesn't matter if they do something right there, just by the activity happening in the account. There's other alerts here that are monitoring, sign in, where did the sign in happen, impossible travel activity. So did we see a sign in at 10 a.m. from Buckingham, and then at 10:05 we've seen one from New York? Well, the system's able to work out that obviously we're not able to travel that distance in that amount of time, so it can raise an alert and send that straight to us. Again, that's another one. We get a lot of false positives on that. Councillors or perhaps even staff using VPN services on personal devices, on their mobiles, things like that. As we all become more security conscious in our personal lives as well, that's fairly common. But just having the ability to catch those as and when they happen, and then figure out, oh yeah, okay, I've put a VPN on my phone to help secure my personal data. That's absolutely fine. We know it's there. We're going to reach out every time we get the alert now, just so you know. But again, it's catching it before someone comes in, and we have that, a mad Monday morning where everything just feels like it's slowly falling apart. So yeah,
Cheers,
that's
Martin.
very important.
And shall we? Because I'm conscious of time. Apologies to rush you through it. Maybe to show some of the email phishing side of it as well, protection that's included. That'd be really good. And if you're a Cloudy customer, you should be seeing this on your systems. So over to you.
Yeah. So email quarantine system, again with the business premium, this is included. So I've actually done one here, just to our Cloudy Council test environment that we have. So this is one I've created. Our sort of primary account in the tenant is Clark at Cloudy Council. I've gone ahead and created an account that looks fairly similar and sent across an email, and it's been picked up kind of immediately once we sent it, by the email monitoring. So it's able to detect that we've basically sent something and the detection technology was impersonating a user. So it's able to tell by the email address that I've created, display name that I've set, and the content within the message, that has been made to look very similar to an internal user within our organization. Again, this is something that can flag up a few false positives, because we do see from time to time a councillor or staff member might forward in something from a personal email, but it's not so much about catching those, it's about getting the opportunity to catch anything before it happens. So it's able to flag this up. The clerk will receive an email notification within 4 hours saying this email has been held, or they also have the ability to just come to the quarantine page sort of as and whenever they like. To review their message. You get to see the information, who sent it, what was the subject. Here I'm signed in as an admin, so I also have the access to go in and review the message. So we can do preview, and it will give us, here was the content. Again, a very common sort of message that we see, there's no attachment, there's no URL here that would flag the system, but impersonation protection is able to still detect that the message had a malicious intent regardless of those things, because it's able to read the content and see that the messages match. This one specifically is one that we see now more and more often as sort of malicious attackers out there try to get around traditional systems that would just scan your attachment or just look for URLs. It will be can you send me your number so I can WhatsApp you? Try and get an avenue where they know that there's not going to be any protection, so that again they can do the usual. Can you just go and buy me a few £200 Amazon gift cards, something like that. So the impersonation protection is really good for this, and it's one specifically that I find myself having a conversation around probably multiple times a week at this point. And just getting it, yes, like I say, there is false positives there. That can feel like a slight annoyance. But yeah, it's, I think anybody can sort of attest who's got cybersecurity experience. It's a game of cat and mouse. We can put the best systems in place. We can have all of those. What we tend to see is then slowly but surely the attackers learn what we're doing to stop their emails from getting through, from their viruses getting through, and start to figure out how can we beat that. So we'll see things like this, which is where impersonation protection can really kind of pull off and give us the edge again.
Brilliant, thanks, Martin. And I'm conscious of the time again, sorry to keep coming back to it. So maybe saying we do a lot for councils is freedom of information requests, and we call through e-discovery. We can do full audits actually of lots of metrics in terms of login activity, location. I don't think we'll have time to do the full e-discovery, but maybe just summarise how useful it is. And if there is a council struggling, you don't have to be a cloudy customer. We've done it quite a few times for non-cloudy customers. But yeah, Martin, just give a quick summary and then we'll move on.
Yeah. So I was going to move on to freedom of information requests or subject access requests. This is something again we see time and time, and people maybe don't realise quite what's available to them within the 365 system. So, like David said, you don't necessarily have to be a cloudy customer. We obviously do use the 365 system, so as long as you've got that, we're able to assist. But yeah, it has a lot of features specifically called e-discovery within it. That allow you the ability to go out and find what's in your environment that might fall within the confines of any freedom of information or subject access requests that you're getting. So we've got a few demo ones here. Essentially, you would create a case and you give this some information around what is the request that you've had, and then from those we'd start a search, and then from there the search we're able to build out what is it specifically that we're looking for, and we can give it that criteria. So we can say, we're looking for anything that contains agenda and minutes, and then we can choose our location. So in here we can see we're looking at mailboxes. In Cloudy Council, we've got 105 mailboxes. That will vary depending on the size of your council. And we're going to look at all sites. So this will be SharePoint, OneDrive, and any team sites that you have, because they're all sort of interlinked, depending on how you have them set up, but generally they'd all be interlinked. And then it can tell us exactly what it's able to find. So in this one, it was fairly narrow. It didn't find a great deal. We can see it found some unindexed items. This tends to be from encrypted attachments, things that the system's not able to search, but it will flag those up and say there's something here that needs to be reviewed. And we then have the ability to come in and export these or view them or run a report to then provide that to you to go through and start reviewing against your subject access request and redact as needed. Again, fairly similar. This one, a lot of data found here, so we're looking for anything that contained just agenda against a date range. And again, we're able to see here, we've got a lot more items found in mailboxes. Again, it was still 105 mailboxes. And we went ahead and searched for all our document stores, so SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams again.
Brilliant, Martin. So we've got 2 minutes left, and we are at the end, actually. I think we could spend a bit longer on this because it's quite interesting. I know it's quite a worry when you do get an information request come through, and I couldn't even imagine doing it manually, and accurately as well. But using this system, you can really get a clear picture very quickly of what's provided and take that stress out, hopefully. So thanks ever so much. We've slightly overran, but we're always here to help. This a monthly webinar that we're running, and we'll make it slightly different each time. Maybe show us some different technologies as well. If anyone wants to book a session in with Martin to do a review of their security, please do. Scan the QR code, go to our website, or just reach out to your current IT provider. We actually are always renewing our current customers, and Martin's checking in with them to see if we can review where we are, because things do change year on year, and obviously our approach as well. But certainly, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. If there's any questions, we're happy to stay on a bit longer and answer them. I do appreciate it's quite busy for everyone. They've got to shoot off to the next meeting, I'm sure. But otherwise, stay safe, look after yourselves, and if you've got any questions, we're always here to help. But thank you for joining us, and we wish you all the best. Cheers. Go. Cheers. Thanks very much, David. Cheers.